Hi everyone, it's Rachel with Rachel Super Cute Creations, and I am going to be going through a bunch of scrap paper tonight. Um, as most of you know, I have a scrap box, and I keep all of the cutoffs and things that I use while I am making different crafts, and that box tends to get completely overflowed. So I just thought it would be a great idea to come on here and just show you some projects that you can do. So in this box, I try to keep things sorted as best as I can. Um, and I'm noticing that I have all of these envelopes and things that are not supposed to be in something else, but somehow over the course of crafting have gotten kind of mixed up. So those of you who are coming in to join me, I just want to say hello and thanks for joining. And I hope that the tips that I give you today can help you as you're trying to de-stash all of your scraps. For those of you that are junk journalers like myself or other paper crafters, scrapbookers, you know that I don't know about you guys, but my scraps just somehow keep multiplying overnight. And every time I think I've used so much stuff, there's so much more that keeps accumulating. It's kind of like that sock monster that eats things in your socks in your dryer. Sorry. Oh my goodness. So anyway, I mean, you can see I'm just continuing. Now these are all little bits and pieces. And then I have this little bag, and this little bag is like for small journals, which is like, I don't even know what. And then, it's just, I mean, it's never, ever, ever ending. So I'm hoping that we can kind of share tonight some different ideas for using up scraps and what we can do with them. And if you have ideas, please go to the right-hand side and share those ideas, because I'm sure you're going to come up with things that I don't come up with. And, my whole purpose is to teach people different things, but also just so we can share and continue to get better. Okay. So if you're just coming in, please say hello on the right-hand side so I can acknowledge you and say hello. I would appreciate that. And you guys, I'm still kind of dealing with all of these bins of papers. All right. So the first thing that I want to kind of take a look at is I love to keep ephemera on hand because when I have things made up, it just makes journaling so much easier for me. So there's a couple things you can do. First of all, with any book pages or things like that, you can make these little envelopes. So we're going to take some of our stuff and we're going to make little envelopes. And then what I do is I stack these up in a box, and then I sew them later. Like when I have my sewing machine out, and I'm working on a project, I go ahead and I sew those pieces later. So first, if I have an 8.5 by 11 paper like this one right here, I don't typically cut that up because that can be used as a page. But I start going in and start deciding what is it that I can do. So here are some envelopes that we can definitely do something with and embellish. But here is some wallpaper samples. Now, you can do a few things with these. You can, one of the things I love to do is I love to make clusters with these. And I love to use the wallpaper as the base. So I do that. I keep all these little pieces. So I'll take one of these pieces and I'm just going to kind of rip it up. And we're going to use those for clusters. And then I have this wrapping paper. This is some vintage wrapping paper. And if you have a large enough piece of vintage wrapping paper, there's quite a few things you can do with it. Let me get just my ruler here for a second. So just going to adjust my camera just a smidge. Okay, so here we go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten up this edge. So this piece becomes a cluster piece, which we're going to make some of those in just a few minutes. And then one thing you can do with wrapping paper is you can make envelopes with wrapping paper. So I love Hallmark wrapping paper because, or any wrapping paper that has the grids on it, because it's a little bit easier to make a square. So all I'm doing is just making some squares. And any of these leftover strips we can use for collaging. So if I do that, I can make some really cute envelopes. Without a lot of effort. Actually, take that in there a little bit farther. Okay. All right. And then I'm able to take and fold this down. So I didn't do a very good job on this one. I would definitely want to put, I typically will put a little piece of paper inside to kind of keep it straight, but you could make little envelopes with scrap paper. The other thing that's great about this is just the collaging, and we'll do a little bit of collaging in a little bit. Book pages. Book pages are something that I always seem to have an abundance of, which I'm sure many of you have an abundance of. So what I do with book pages is, first of all, if they are weak book pages or they're thin, I always like to glue 2 pages together so that I have a little stable piece of paper to work with. Now, in some cases, you may want to triple your paper. It all depends on what you want to do. So sometimes what I will do with book pages is I will just roughly take them and rip them in half. And I use them for bases for hidden paper clips. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I take whatever the length of the paper is, and then I fold it in half like this. And I fold this piece in half. And to make a hidden paper clip, you're going to put the paper clip over your first folded piece, and then you're going to glue this piece on top. And now what you've done is you've created a paper clip that's not going to get snagged on anything else. Now, here's a problem I want to show you. Sometimes you will have one paper that is bigger than the other. So if that happens, you want to put the smaller paper on the bottom and the bigger paper on top. That way you will not see that piece. So what I like to do then is I like to use, oops, I'm sorry. I like to use my Fabri-Tac because you're able to stick it down really, quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and I like to put quite a bit around my paper clip. And I only work with one side at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this, and I'm actually going to turn this way because I want my words to be the proper way. It doesn't matter, but if I'm using it as a base, I like my words to be going the proper way. Okay, so I went ahead and I've glued those 2 pieces together. Straightening my paper clip, I'm going to take and I'm going to make sure I have plenty of glue around there, and I'm going to glue down this side. So I'm just lining it up. For those of you who are in here, please say hello on the right-hand side. I'd love to know who's joining me this evening. Everybody's so quiet. Okay, so now basically what I've done is I've created a base of a paper clip that can slip right over the page. And there's no paper clip to get hung up on your paper. So what can you do from there? You can take this. I like to sometimes rip this and just give it a more organic edge. You don't have to do this, but I think it's just fun to have a more organic edge. So I like to just tear it. And I usually, excuse me, will leave one side down a little farther than the other. Now, this is a great way to make bookmarks as well. So I know Christmas is coming up and you might be thinking, you know, I want to make some paper crafts or I want to use up some of my scraps and what could I do? Well, not only are these great for junk journals, but these are great for bookmarks. So you're just going to tear them. I'm going to tear this up just a smidge. And I now have this clip, this hidden clip. Now, I could go ahead and I could collage on here if I wanted to. You know, we could layer and collage and continue to make this a beautiful embellished piece. And I'm still keeping something that's very flat, but that has some depth to it. So that's one way you can make hidden paper clips. And you can see here, I did this one out of just some scrap paper. But I love these and I love to leave them blank so that when I'm ready to embellish them, I can embellish them. The other thing that is fun that I like to do sometimes is I like to make these mini pockets to put on paper clips. So if you fold your paper in half and then you fold it in half this way, then you're going to take this first edge and you're going to fold it all the way to the edge of your paper. And you're going to adhere that down. Just like that. Okay, then you're going to take this piece right here and you're going to fold it in, but you're going to leave a little bit of an edge. So you now have 2 pockets. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and do that. You're going to glue this down. And then what I like to do is I then like to glue from this edge. So here's our folds. Okay, you don't want to glue here. You want to glue these 2 pieces together. So that this back piece becomes one solid piece, but you still have your pockets right here. And I have someone who is on and talking in a language that I cannot read. So sorry, I can't answer questions for you. The next thing I do is I come up this edge right here. And I come up this edge right here. Whoops, I didn't need to go that far on this side, sorry. I was looking at the feed and not paying attention here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to seal that. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just put some adhesive right along this edge. And we have a little mini pocket, which is perfect for sticking small embellishments and small tags in. Okay. Now, the thing I love about these little pockets, and you can sit and fold these and make these at night while you're watching TV, is that you can adhere them to these bases that we made. And we now create something that is not only a bookmark, but it's a pocket in which you can stuff ephemera in and put different items in for the person you're giving this to. And so isn't that kind of a neat little piece to add to your journal? And that's what it looks like on the top of the page. Boy, you all are very quiet. I must be boring you to death. Please, if you're here, say something on the right-hand side so that I know who's in the room tonight. I appreciate everybody who's coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that pocket one more time just so that you can watch it. This book page is a little bit smaller than the book page I just worked with, but that's fine. So we're going to take this, we're going to fold it in half, just like that. We're going to take our top page and we're going to fold it right along the edge, just like that. Hi, Connie. How are you? Finally, somebody's going to talk to me. Thank you for joining. You love using book pages? Awesome. Connie, have you ever made these little tiny pockets before? A lot of people make them out of 8.5 by 11 paper, which is really cool. But I like to make a mini size because I like to put them on paper clips and put them in little areas as surprises. Okay, so there is our pockets. We're now going to take and fold this upright. I'm opening this up, being careful where my fold line is, and I'm now going to put adhesive down here to give the back more structure. Now, if you have heavier paper, like if you're working with cardstock scraps, you can leave this area open so that you have a pocket here, a pocket here, a pocket here. And then if you adhered it just on these three sides, you could have a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, you could have a fourth pocket. Okay, you've not made one like this. So hopefully this will give you some ideas. I love to do these with my small book pages because for me, I usually only use small book pages for collaging because I don't know what to do with them. So this little project is fun and you're able to put them on little paper clips and just make some cute little pieces. Now, if you have a corner rounder, it's fun to take your corner rounder and go at the top and give it another look. So you can give it this look right here where you have the rounded edges, which I really like. So it can look like this or it can look like that. And I mean, goodness, is that not adorable or what to put on a clip? So those I will sit and just make a bunch of them up. And then I love to use different colored papers. So you can see the patina difference in these papers and how you can just really dress up a journal very easily. Yeah, I'll show you the hidden clip in just a minute. Yeah, actually we'll make an actual full hidden clip out of this one because I have a vintage journal that I'm going to be working on, and this color paper is actually going to go very well with it. So you do have to be careful when using book pages though. So I don't know if you can see this. This book page is very old. And so it's starting to crack. So just be careful in how old the book pages you're using because you want to make sure that you're using something that's going to hold up. Okay. So the next piece I'm going to do, I'm just going to seal this up right here and right here and right here. Okay, so let's make a hidden paper clip again. So I'm going to dig back in my scraps. Dig out some paper here. I'm going to use this. It's kind of a natural paper. And what I do for those hidden bookmarks, excuse me, is I kind of have to measure how big I want them. So this is a 5-inch piece, a little over 5 inches, and I want them about 2 inches. So I'm just going to roughly mark with my finger about how wide I want it. Now, if you're using a cutting mat, you don't have to do it like this, but I'm trying to show you how you don't need to get a lot of things out. When I sit at my couch at night and I do these things, I do them with minimal amount of tools. Okay. All right. So the next thing you want to do is you have your 2 strips of paper. Hi, Pat. Oh, I completely understand. I just want to make sure I'm not boring you all to death. You're going to fold this in half, and you're going to fold the other piece in half. You can see that this piece right here is not perfectly straight. That's fine. That's my bottom piece. And this is going to be my top. The next thing you want to do is you want to get a paper clip. And for this one, I'm going to use a small paper clip because it's what I grabbed. So I have this piece that's going to be my bottom piece. I'm going to take my paper clip and I'm going to put it right in the middle, just like that. I'm then going to take my Fabri-Tac, and you do want to use something other than a glue stick. You want to use a very good permanent adhesive. And you're going to put glue along the edges and around that paper clip. Okay? You're then going to take your top paper, you're going to line it up on the bottom. You're going to smooth it down, flip it over. I do have to do a little bit of adjusting because I didn't line it up very good. You're going to fold it over, and then you're going to glue this side down, okay? I'm going to go ahead and glue this side down, just like that. Then, as I said before, I like to, you can leave it as it is, but I like a more organic edge because sometimes the edge shows. So I just go ahead and I just tear along the bottom. And this is hard to tear because it's like a mulberry paper and the fibers are tough. I typically will tear one a little bit longer than the other. This paper is not ideal to tear, so I would use something that doesn't have as many fibers in it that makes it so difficult, but it works. So then what you can do is get your inker out. And I like to just ink the edges a little bit. And I ink both sides because you're going to see the back of this, because it's going over the page, okay? I didn't put a lot of ink on it. I just put a little bit on. Then I'm going to take my envelope or my pocket that I just made to glue this little side down here. I'm going to use my hole punch and I'm going to hole punch those edges. And then I have a choice. I can line it up so that when this goes over the page, and I want to show you this because some people that in my workshops have made this mistake before when they're making these. Okay. So these go just over the page like that. Actually, open it up like a book. Okay. So they go over the page like this. So when you turn the page, you have it on both sides. Okay. Now, there's two ways you can attach the pocket. You can attach the pocket so that the bottom is lined up with the bottom of this because this bookmark is kind of short. If you do that, you're going to get the pocket to stick above your book. That's fine. That looks great if you want kind of like a bookmark. And a lot of ladies will do that because they use this clip as their bookmark in their journals. If you don't want that, all you have to do is line it up with the top here so that it sticks down. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another hidden tuck spot for you. Okay. So I want this to be lined up. So I'm going to go across here with my glue. Maybe if I can get the glue to work. I'm going to go down and I'm going to go across and I'm leaving this left side open. Okay. Oops. Two reasons why. One, if I leave my right side open and someone turns my book like this, whatever I hid in there could fall out. Okay, so I try to keep it towards the spine so that if it falls out and it's in the book, it'll kind of fall out into the spine and more than likely not fall out of their book and the person will not lose it. If you want to do it the other way, that's fine. But that is my reasoning behind putting the extra pocket, what I call the hidden pocket, over here. Okay, so then you want to just keep that, let that dry. Now, I can do something as simple as just putting something like this on the corner of it, and I'm done. But look where our pockets are. Let me get some tags. So let's make a few tags for this. I have this beautiful paper. Hi, Connie. Hi, Laura. Oh, well, you know what? I am tired of scraps. I have so many scraps. They're getting completely out of control. So I figured if I was going to play around with them today, I might as well turn the camera on and play with you guys. So because I love this gorgeous paper, I'm going to go ahead and tear a piece. Oops. And make a little tag on the top. Now, I'm lucky because here's some writing space right here, but I could cover that if I wanted to. I'm now going to look at how can I tuck that in. So there is one pocket, like we talked about. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab some more scraps here. And we're going to make another pocket. So here's an order form. And it's kind of flimsy, but it was in my scrap pack. And so I said, we're only using the scraps that are on my desk today. So I'm going to reinforce this. So I'm just adding some glue. Now I could reinforce this by putting a different paper on the back, but I'm just going to fold it. Oh, look what I did. I guess we're going to use this paper. I didn't realize that had the carbon piece. You know what? I'm not going to use that carbon piece. We're going to try this again because I really want the lines. Okay. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to fold this because I want lines on both sides. And it's a little wrinkly right here, but that's okay because I'm not going to use that part. I just want to make sure that we're down fairly well. I will keep this because this is good collage paper. You buy scraps, Laura? Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, I don't buy scraps because I have too many scraps. But it is fun. I do sometimes like to get scraps because oftentimes they're things that I don't have. So it's fun to kind of see what other people have. I need to make that just a smidge smaller. Okay, so here's another tag that I'm tucking in here. So we've now have 2 tags, all out of scraps. And then what I want to make and to tuck into here is a faux envelope. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to use this right here, which is a piece of my jelly print paper. All right. So how I make my faux envelopes is basically I just fold it up about how tall I want that envelope to be. And I fold it. And then I fold it again. Okay. Once I do that, I kind of try to keep about the same width that I have here, right here. And it can be a little bit smaller. So like maybe take a half an inch off what you think it should be. You're going to take your edges and you're going to fold them in. Now you can glue these down if you want, or you can leave them just like they are. And I've now created a cute little faux envelope, which will tuck. I can get my fingers to work. We'll tuck right inside here. So we've now have another pocket, and then I can just take this. Now you don't have to leave this sticking out like that, but the other thing is you can put something here that has a tab. So like sometimes I will take my little tab punch here, and I'll show you that too. Show you this because this is fun too. All right, so you can take your paper. Darn it, I should have done it the other way. Haven't used my tab punch in a while, so I apologize. Give me just a second here to think this through. Here we go. Okay. So I can also create a tab. And all I need is a scrap piece of cardstock. So I'm going in my little bin here that has more scraps and more scraps. Oh, come on. There's got to be a piece of cardstock in here somewhere. Well, look at this. This is a piece that definitely needs to be used. So we are going to use it. And I'm going to leave this just this one butterfly. And ironically, probably should have left a little more room on that, is my little tab matches my butterfly pretty well. So I'm going to put the tab on top like this. And you can glue it or you can use a stapler. In this case, I'm going to do a little bit of both. So we're going to embellish it with a staple as well. So I'm lining this up. Oop. And then I'm going to take my stapler and I'm going to put a staple in there. And I've now created this cute little tuck spot on the corner of this hidden paper clip. So now when I take this and put this over my page, this is what it would look like. Now, you can also embellish the back of this if you would like. Sometimes I will do a fold out. So I'll show you what that looks like and we'll embellish the back of this. Let me grab. So this paper is kind of cool. It came from a vintage quilt book. You can see it has this pattern on the back, but I love the colors in it. So I'm going to take about 3 inches of this. And the thing I love about the back of this is you could write right over it with pen if you wanted to. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to measure it. So it is approximately 7 inches. Then what I do is I kind of roll it in on itself because what I'm going to do is create a little trifold. Now it does not have to be perfect. So I'm folding this like this. So we now have an opening. But what's really cool is we can put a little notepad in here. How do we do that? We get out all of those scraps of coffee dyed paper that you have all the cutoffs from. And I have a whole bin of them somewhere in this disaster because I just looked at them. Okay, so here's some. I have some smaller ones someplace else, but I won't dig for them. So what I need to do is I need to measure this right here. It's approximately 2 1/4 inches. So I'm going to make my pieces about 2 inches a piece. I'm going to make sure that they fit in here and that this is able to close without a problem. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 4 of these. And if I have my paper cutter, I definitely could use it, but I have so much stuff on my desk right now. I don't throw this little piece away. I keep it. Then what I do is I need to measure. In this case, I think 3. We'll just use 3 for this one. I'm measuring about 1/8 of an inch above where it would go. I tear that off. I take my stapler and I staple this right on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it just like this. But before I do that, I'm going to cover the staple. And the reason why I'm covering this staple is because I'm going to use this as a pocket. And if I leave that staple there, it's going to catch on anything that I try to tuck in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover this with another piece of scrap paper. Doesn't matter because you're not going to see it. I'm going to add it to my pocket. To my clip. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my permanent adhesive. I'm going to line that up. And now what I've done is I have created an additional tuck spot, another hidden tuck spot right here. Now, I could leave that open and I could even put a taller tag in there. See how I pushed that through? I didn't mean to. So that means there's going to be glue all over this now. But that is an option. So I'm going to cut this a little bit smaller so I don't run into that again. My scissors. There we go. Okay. Sometimes what I'll do, I just feel like that shouldn't be there, so I'm going to fold this back. I just feel like it, I don't know. I feel like it looks better if it's folded back right here. And I now have created this little book with this little pad in it. So if I take this off, what does it look like? It looks like this. So you ended up with something that has two pockets, a hidden pocket right here. Flip it over and you now have a little booklet in here. So I hope that gives you some ideas as well as to how you can use some of these scraps up. Any other ideas that you guys have for using up scraps? So to me, this becomes now a cluster piece. So now I can take some of the items that I have over here that are scraps, and I can make a cluster. And once again, I'm just using, in this case, you can use whatever you want. You could add fabric. In fact, I have a little bit of fabric right here. We're going to add that in just to give it a little pop of color. And then I'm going to give it a staple. And there's a cluster. Yes, Connie, do. Please go and make one. They're fun. They're very, very fun. What are some other ways that you guys use scraps up? Because I would love to hear some other ways. And sometimes the other thing I'll do, you guys, is sometimes I'll just take paper punches. If I have a lot of just little dinky scraps, I'll just take my paper punches and I'll just cut some things with it. Connie, you make bookmarks. That's a great idea. And you can also do Franken pages, which are fun too. Hopefully everybody knows what a Franken page is. I think we'll make a Franken page with this. I don't love this paper. So this is a paper that I would prefer to collage on because I feel like it would be better served to have a collage on it because I'm not going to use it like this. It's just not my style. So let me get, you stamp small stamps and fussy cut them out. Yeah, that's a great idea. Flowers, bookmarks. I like to make flowers too. That's fun. Okay, so let me get my messy desk under control here for a minute. Okay, here's my Mod Podge. So the other thing I end up with sometimes too is like this is something from Calico Collage that I purchased, and sometimes what actually happened is I printed it out on copy weight paper um, instead of cardstock for embellishments, and I didn't realize it because my printer ran out of the cardstock. So instead of throwing these away, I use these for collage because I've already wasted, and I shouldn't say wasted because it's not wasted, but I've already used the ink, and we all know ink is expensive. Now, one of these days, I'm going to get some of those fancy edge rippers. I think We Are Memory Keepers makes those rulers that have the fun edges. I don't have those, but someday when I grow up, I'm going to get those. So, okay. So I'm going to have to be careful about making sure that whatever I put over the orange part covers. So I'm just going to be mindful of that as I'm working. And what my plan is to make something that's very similar to Tim Holtz paper. And as you know, Tim Holtz begins by layering different items. And then, of course, he creates everything in a digital piece. But he uses ephemera, he uses papers. So I'm just going to start with this image from Calico Collage. Now, when you collage your items, I mostly use them because what I like to do is I like to cut them into tags and things, but you can scan them. You can scan them into a whole new piece. Now, look, this is just a piece of an envelope from a pattern. And I chose it because the paper's thick and it will cover that orange. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to collage that on. Oh, thank you, Laura, for giving me that idea. Laura says that I can make my own fancy rulers by getting them at the dollar store and using pliers to break off bits and pieces. I love that idea. Thank you so much for sharing that. Might just have to try that. Susan is asking, how do you use Franken pages, Pat? So how are you guys using, oops, put that on the wrong side. How are you guys using your Franken pages? You love scraps, by the way. I love scraps too. When I first started into junk journaling, that was one of the things that I used to love to barter with people was scraps because I love to see what other people had in their stash. I just thought it was so cool. Remember, we had this wrapping paper, so this would be great to collage. So I'm going to go ahead and collage. The other thing I like to collage sometimes is tissue paper. So you can get some of the embossed tissue papers and things with gifts. And those are really nice to collage with. Yeah, I make a lot of tags with my Franken pages and on my collage pages. I guess I don't call them Franken pages. I call them collage pages, but they're Franken pages. I think of Franken pages of the ones that you sew, because you can sew around these, and that was kind of made up, because Frankenstein was sewn together. So, and all of these little bits of coffee dyed paper, I never throw away my coffee dyed paper, you guys, because first of all, I feel like It takes so much time to do it. So even these little bits and pieces, I save them for collaging because I think they make beautiful collage pieces. How else do you guys use your Franken pages? So Susan says she makes tags. So here's a really thin dictionary page. It's almost like tissue paper. So you'll see when I actually put this down that you'll be able to see. I'll have to be careful about putting it by the orange because you're going to be able to see right through it. So I like it because I like the texture of it, but it's very thin. It's very much like tissue. And it will wrinkle a little bit. So you have to really make sure you get it down. A background for an ATC, that's a great idea. And you know, if you're a journaler, use the backgrounds. Use them for backgrounds for journaling cards. You know, ATCs are one thing, but use them for journaling cards. Also, you can use these collage pieces for inchies and twinchies. And those I use sometimes for the inchies and twinchies I use for backgrounds when I'm working on embellishments. Everybody is so quiet tonight. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Whoops, sorry about that. And like even this little piece is perfect for collaging. I can take this and add an accent right here with something that normally I would throw away. The other thing I never throw pieces away of are my jelly print papers because those are a lot of work. Here is a vellum flower that someone sent me in Happy Mail. I don't know how this is going to work because sometimes vellum will curl, but we're going to see if we can Mod Podge it down. Well, it looks like it's going to stick. So you can see I just created another layer. And you could even take a punch like, this is a Tim Holtz flower punch. I haven't used it in a while. Okay, two things I want to show you. One, I'm going to use this like a stencil right here. And I'm going to take my Tim Holtz Distress ink and I'm going to lay this down. And I created a flower like a stencil. So know that you can add all kinds of layers to your work. It doesn't just have to be collage. And then I'm going to take these flowers and we'll add them throughout once we get the rest of this page done. Here's a piece of ephemera that I had left over from another calico collage kit. So I'm going to go ahead and add this little beauty right here. What else? What else? What else? Ooh, this is very pretty organic paper. So here's some paper that I received in some Happy Mail that looks like it might have been handmade. And I totally just ripped it up, but that's okay. It fits my theme, so I want to make sure that I include it. Because I kind of have a little bit of a botanical thing going on. Trying to get that fern back on. Uh-oh, it looks like we're buffering. Sorry, guys, it looks like we might have buffered for a minute there. I'm not sure what happened. Is it still buffering, Laura? I'm hoping not. I saw it kind of stop for a second. So I'm going to take these little flowers that I punched out and I'm going to add them to various spots. It's okay now? Good, good. Glad to hear that. Okay. So the other thing you can do is, in sticking with my whole Tim Holtz theme, is you can also add tickets and things to your collage. If you're going to add thicker paper, though, you need to make sure you really get the Mod Podge on it. So all of those tickets that you've been hoarding and you've been just kind of tucking them in things and you're tired of tucking them in things, add them to your collage. I've been hoarding these forever too. This is a piece of ephemera. Had it for at least 2 years. So you know what? If I haven't used it, I'm going to use the same concept as before. If I haven't used it,